welcome to another fascinating episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. I'm your host, Chocolate Drop. As usual, you're in for a fascinating program. Tonight, we're going to talk about a variety of things, ranging from eating healthy, exercise, small businesses, supporting black-owned businesses, you name it. We're just going to kick it around. Because I have as my guests Mr. and Mrs. Graham, Mr. Chris Graham and Miss Shacoya Graham. And so I met Chris at the Y, getting his workout on, and when I meet people, I kind of like throw out a question, and one of the questions I threw out to him was to name name three greatest athletes of all time, and then rank them in the order of 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to put you on the spot again. Do you remember your answer to that question?
Oh yes,
and why?
I remember. The three from 3,
Yes.
2, and 1 is actually LeBron James,
Number
3.
Okay.
Muhammad Ali,
Okay.
number 2, and my number 1 is Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. Okay. All right. And his answers triggered a conversation that led up to us eventually being here today. So if you want, you can partake in handle that same question, or we'll go on to what we want to talk about.
Yeah, we can go on. I don't
Yeah,
do
okay.
sports. Sorry.
But I found out that you were an entrepreneur, and that there are several things that you're working on right now. And it's that we're talking about eating healthy. So I was under the impression that you were looking to do something like juicing, smoothies. Was I incorrect?
No, you're correct. I actually bought into a small vegan and sea moss business here in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. It's called Love is Love Always. Sea moss. We have sea moss smoothies, which are vegan as well. So it's no dairy, no sugars. It's made with dates. Okay. And then we also have sea moss infused lemonades, and then we also do a vegan breakfast as well. So it's all, plant-based, make it more healthier, and yeah.
And so that ties in with working out and getting fit?
Yes. So I've been on this pretty much health journey since 2013.
Okay.
I lost about 165, 170 pounds in that time frame.
That's a whole nother person.
Oh yeah. But then I gained about 85 of it back during COVID.
So you found some more people, huh? Okay.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
so it's something you and your wife are doing together?
Sometimes.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, we grow into it together. She was my biggest motivation.
Okay.
Simply because, we have a big family, a blended family, 7 children. And my youngest, he's only 12. So when he was born, I wanted to be able to, play sports, be active with him. And she kind of motivated me to do that.
Okay. Now, I think I saw you on some a podcast or tell me about the podcast and what was the subject matter?
Oh, it was about, creating healthy families and creating healthy communities. I am a marriage and family therapist, licensed marriage and family therapist, and because of our journey with families and our blended family, that is what drove me into that field. And I like to thank Chris for that because he did.
So this kind of like the Black Brady Bunch or something, blended family? I know
that's
not the first time you heard it, right?
No, it is not.
It's not, yeah.
Okay. So you said it's American?
A marriage and family therapist.
So no, to help our viewers understand what that's all about.
So what we do is we see things systemically. Mm-hmm. So we see the whole picture. And that's how I see even communities. So I don't just see one person, I see the whole community. And when we affect change as a one person, it only takes one person to affect change. Similar to what you're doing.
I was going to say, can you give an example?
Yeah.
So that was a low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Similar to what we're doing here. Right?
Similar to what you're doing. So you just talk to one person, and this has affected change, and then you bring more people, and then you're affecting all the people that are able to hear and learn from what you're sharing. So that's how you create systemic change. And so...
Well, how would you address those people who say, well, that's a Herculean task to try, I can't make a difference, it's just me. How do you convince them that, no, you can make a difference?
Well,
I got some ideas.
Yeah, you can, and it only takes one person and having a passion and an idea. But really, it does take a community. We need to do it together. And so how do we do things together? How do we come together? And that's one thing that's really good about Chris. He loves to bring people and connect people together. That's how he got with the smoothie business, and he likes to empower people, including me and others. So that's one great thing about him.
Well, you mentioned when you were talking about the power of one, for some reason I thought about Rosa Parks, with one person who's saying, look, I'm not going to give up my seat, or even with the whole bus boycott, one community shut down the whole thing. So one person can make a difference.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about small businesses from the standpoint of how can people support small businesses, and what are some of the things that, from your perspective, people can do to help small businesses be better?
Okay.
What are some examples?
I think some main key attributes of it is to basically, really unify together. No offense to any type of race out there, but you can see the Latino community, you can see the white community, you can see those people. A lot of them, just like they said, the Jewish community, their money, their dollar recycles 17 to 22 times. The Latino community, the same thing. But in the black community, we don't have any reciprocation. So we do have small businesses. However, we're not really pushing forth the effort to do a major support and really analyze it to see how we can uplift it, empower, and make it realistic.
So why is that, in your opinion? Why is that? You've had Minister Louis Farrakhan years ago. You all maybe don't remember about that, but the Power products. You remember that? The Power. It was soap and okay. I'm dating myself, but it was kind of big in Chicago. But from an economic standpoint, they were saying like support black businesses by black. I guess you got publications like Ebony, Jet Magazine, FUBU. So sometimes you have these companies that end up getting large, getting huge, but they end up selling. So it kind of defeats the purpose.
Well, honestly, my opinion about it is, I look at building generational wealth. So that's the key attribute for building a successful black business. If you grow it from the ground up, don't just sell out. Not to say sell out, but
I know what you mean. But
let someone buy it out because they see it because that's what other individuals do. They seek our personal businesses anyway because they see the value of it, but then they know by putting it, like fried chicken. Everybody gonna say, who made KFC's special recipe?
Where you get those?
You know what I'm saying? Or
spices,
that type of thing. And then it was
those big mama in there cooking the chicken.
Exactly. So we get that mindset. We grow it and we get it to a certain level, and then we just 20, 30 years down the road, company come and give you 5 times the valuation instead of thinking of, hey, I want to pass it to my son or to my grandson or whatever. We don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
So here's a pushback on that, because I hear what you're saying, but what if someone were to say, well, hey, that's the profit. Like Michael Jordan just recently here, I think, sold his share in the Hornets. Was it Hornets? Yeah, the Hornets. Yeah, they went back to the Hornets.
In the Hornets, yeah.
But I think he paid like 1 point something for it, and it's over like
he paid almost $800 million.
$800
and then
million,
wound up getting $3 billion for his
I think that's pretty good return on your investment.
Oh yeah.
So now, how would someone respond and say, well, hold on, Mikey, why don't you just keep it and pass it on to your children? How do you respond to that?
In the backside of that, we don't know what other businesses or brands that Michael Jordan have specifically with his children on it. Even though he sold the Hornets, he's still a minority owner. So it's still a portion of that, even though he sold and got the $3 billion, it is a percentage of it that he still owns that he can still pass to his grandkids or to his children. So we don't really know the fine line of who, like with FUBU or when Damon Dash and Damon John and all them sold.
I get them confused too. But
yeah. But even with Jay-Z and Damon Dash, when they sold, Rockefeller, when they split up Rockefeller and all that, it made it a commodity. But then when they decided to separate it and this person is better than that, we have that crabs in a barrel mentality, and that's a lot of stuff in our community. We want to tear each other down when we get to a certain level, or we don't want to participate or even share the valuation of what we have because it's so much of a competition. Who we blame for that? We can go back to the Jim Crow era. We can go back to the back in the slavery era where they used the Bible and separated the dark black man from the light black man. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. You can make all that suggested, reasoning of where it started, but when are we going to really realistically make a change?
Could you say that it has something to do with having access to capital?
Absolutely.
Or not having? Okay, speak on that.
I mean, like even just starting my own private practice, I mean, we have to have access to capital. A lot of just trying to start I do drug education and things like that. And
Okay.
just trying to get into that field is just so expensive. Like you have to have upfront like $100,000 capital just to get into that field to help our people. And it just is, you have to have that access, and that keeps us out a lot. And so we don't even have that generational wealth to be able to pass on to each other. But it's not even just about passing it on. Why can't we share? Like, why can't we give it to other
Okay,
people?
how do you mean share? Why can't we share?
Like teaching someone else. You don't have to always give money. You can also teach them as well.
No. And so we're talking about generational wealth. I'm going to drop this in. You already know I was going to mention this, but let's talk about reparations. Reparations, some people say that's controversial, Do you think black people deserve reparations?
My opinion,
Yeah, it's an opinion. Everybody's entitled to it. They say like
1,000
opinions like armpits. Everybody got these
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
and most of them stink.
Yeah, 1,000%.
1,000%.
Simply because, a lot of this country and this system that we are in was built on our ancestors' backs. Where they were taking from their home and brought to another country, was manipulated by their individuals, counterparts that told lies to their families to say they come in to partner with them here, but created slavery and created control over them, and they didn't have, that opportunity. Just like they try to say the Jewish families were ones that was taught or been treated roughly before us. However, you can go back to the Holocaust times when they were killed. Nothing against that, but however, when is the black man going to have the opportunity to get paid for what they really done?
Good reparations. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to speak on that?
Well, I believe that's the original PTSD, post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Okay.
Like
PPS.
PTSD.
Okay.
Yes.
Post-traumatic
Slave
syndrome.
syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is what we struggle with, and I see it in the therapy room. I see how it passes on through each generation, how it affects how we relate to one another, how we're in relationship with one another. So
It shows up.
absolutely, and it keeps us from having a lot of the things that we desire to have, that I know that we can have as people.
So do you think that it's something that could be addressed from, there's a gentleman called Neely Fuller who talks about the 9 areas of activity. Do you think it's something that can be dealt with from an economic standpoint, from a religious standpoint, or from a political standpoint, more lawyers, more legislators? Do you think that we can kind of get over this hump where we're not constantly behind the 8 ball from an economic standpoint?
Yeah, in my opinion, it should be addressed on all 3 of those levels. Simply because, my father always said, politics and religion is a topic that a lot of people don't like to talk about in corporate or individual, we all together in a group. However, we should be able to speak on any levels, on any topics. So so starting with the legislature, starting with economic opportunity, and also in the pastoral mindset. You are leading a flock. You should teach your flock to understand the value of money. You should understand the value of them as individuals. And then on the legislature side, in the political side, they're fighting in California about it right now, where these politicians. What they said, the guy the speaker that Oprah Winfrey put on, what's his name?
The speaker that Oprah Winfrey.
The guy, I can't remember.
Okay, anyway.
But he speaks on black people shouldn't get $250,000 or $300,000 if they give us some amount of reparation. Because they're going to spend it or not going to take advantage of it. Well, then before you give it, create an opportunity for a financial advisor to speak to them on how to have that money for their family or for their kids and not spend it on, illegitimate stuff. So
with tennis shoes or
tennis shoes or
I
mean it's a lot of stuff.
On that, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of materialistic.
But some people look at that as an investment. People say that they're paying thousands of dollars for a pair of tennis. I don't quite understand it, but
Well, and I also think it's a mindset and mental healing that needs to happen. So I think it's more than just money that needs to happen. I also think it's a mental healing that needs to happen, emotional healing.
And we have not addressed that?
Absolutely. We're not addressing that at all.
You think we're afraid of saying that we need help? that we're afraid of the damage that was done. We don't refuse to acknowledge that, as you said, post-traumatic slavery syndrome, that it happened, you know.
That it happened to us and we were hurt and harmed by that. It has wrecked our family system. Yes, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about how it's shifted how our families operate. It shifted in how many of our black men are in prison and not in their homes.
Mass incarceration.
Raising their children. Right. And that there are single mothers out here raising their own children by themselves.
So to push back, I want you to get on this, but I want to push back. So what do you say to those who would say, well, you know, you have black mayors of cities, you know, right here in Charlotte. You know, you got the chief of police, you got the superintendent of schools, there's metropolitan areas throughout the country where you can see black people in key positions, but yet you have some of the more deprived areas still in those cities, and you know, this has been going on for decades now. So where's the progress? And can we hold those lawmakers accountable? And how do we hold them accountable?
Well, my opinion on it is in those political positions, even as we having the first black president.
I was going to get to that.
The mindset of it is it's still a European system.
Okay.
So even though you put a person of color, because it can be black, brown, Latino, whatever, in a position for power, they still have to go through the European system. And the European system has always been built to keep us handcuffed. It's built to keep us the second nature. They fear us to get us into specific positions of power. You know, the Jay-Z's, or, you know, and we can speak on these the Oprah Winfrey's, the Tyler Perry's. They get to a certain level, just like what they did to Bill Cosby. Okay. You know, I mean, how many other European men at his age that did the same thing that he did, and it went public, but they didn't go to prison.
Yeah. What's the guy with the Packers? Was not the New England Patriots. No, New England Patriots. The New England Patriots. Kraft. Okay, my sports knowledge is about
the owner.
Yes, the owner. Yeah. So
or even Jerry Richardson. Jerry Richardson with
right
the Panthers.
Yeah.
He had an incident like that too. He was a racial situation, and within three months that it happened, he was selling the team because they didn't want to even bring it out. You know, it was a protection for him. But when Bill Cosby went to go buy TNT, all of a sudden these women.
So that's what it was about. Somebody said that's what it was about. Okay. That's a whole.
My bad. We on a whole. I'm dropping names.
Well, I was trying to couch. I mean, we told our viewers that this would be kind of like a cornucopia of subjects that we're going to cover. So that's what we're doing. So what are some other things you all want to talk about before we move towards the conclusion of our program? What's some other things that we can touch upon? We talk about eating healthy. We talk about the CMOS, American Health. What American Healthy Living? Is that it? What's that name of?
American Healthy Living. You mean like systemic change?
No, I'm saying things that we've touched upon already. Yeah.
American Healthy Living, entrepreneurship for black and brown folks.
So we can talk about blended families. How about that?
Yeah,
that's healthy, right?
Oh yeah. It's a task.
Okay. What are some challenges with a blended family? We've done several programs titled "Dating After Divorce" and "Dating After 40." You know, so that comes with a whole variety of things that people don't think about, but they know they've been married once, and for whatever reason that marriage didn't work, but they still want to try it again. So coming from experience, you know, what are some things that one would not do because they want this new relationship to work? So we talk about blended families.
I'm gonna call myself as a subject matter expert in this situation. You know, I am in my mid-40s. This is my second marriage.
Okay.
I have 7 wonderful children. So it was a difficult task. I started having my first child at 17 years old. So I've been taking care of people since I was a kid myself.
Right. Okay.
So, but learning over time, you know, we both grew up with some of our kids because they were, you know, being teenagers as we was in our 20s and 30s. But it can be also a positive thing too, because you have a very diverse group of individuals that, you know, we can all, you know, I use the word team as an acronym. Together, everyone achieves more. Okay. And that acronym is really systemically improving our community as a family, because I really push it down their throats on the mindset of why it's so important because, you know, in my first book that I wrote, my chapter was on generational man and what is a generational man.
So what is a generational man?
Well, a generation of improving a generational man. You know, you starting from a young kid to becoming a man. It's three things every young man should know: who they are, you know, how much money they're going to make, and where they're going. And if they're not ready for that, they're not ready to be with a mate. They first got to get themselves in order.
And answer those questions.
Yeah, and they got to answer them questions for themselves, because how can you be able to take care of a spouse
when you can't
or
take care of
children?
yourself?
You can't take care of yourself. So
that's real talk.
yeah, that's 100. So the realistically understanding that is, how can we go from adolescence to manhood? And we've done that. You know, from 17 years old to 45, I've been in my children's lives. And had the problematic situations of having, co-parenting children, going through divorce and dealing with financial distress. And to be in where we're at today, having successful businesses.
And you're a role model for your children. And not only your children, but their friends and other people.
Yes. I've mentored several hundred young men. Okay. And that's my goal, is to help, other brown and black individuals between the age of 13 to 25, because that's where those ages that they need to get a pole of understanding who they are, how much money they're going to make, and where they're going. So, yeah.
So what's next for Mr. and Mrs. Graham? Where do you all go from here?
You want me to drop it?
Yes, you can.
Well, we are actually
drop it like it's hot.
Yeah, we're actually in a book together. It's called Mission Matters.
Okay.
So we wrote a chapter, and it is around improving families and communities with systemic change. And our goal is to really get that out there into the communities, into families, and taking our story and maximizing the opportunity to educate people that look like us to improve that. How it's important to keep your family together. We're living in a system that is dividing us. That's why it's more black men in prison. That's why, it's more single black women out here taking care of their children. Everybody wants to point the fingers of, is it the man or that's the woman? But what about the system that put them in that systemic mindset of saying that cycle of, oh, if you're not doing this for your child, you can't see your child. Or by the fact, your mother is the custodial parent and you ain't got no control over your child. So the system is continually dividing instead of creating a system to create positive.
So we need more people to kind of understand that.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah. You want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, yeah. And just trying to educate everybody on that. You can make some change with just one person.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we've come to the conclusion of this particular episode of the Chocolate Box Present. And again, I want to thank you both so much for taking time to come and share your knowledge with us about small businesses, entrepreneurships. We talked about CMOS, healthies, just in family. So we got a couple of bonuses out of what we hadn't initially planned on talking about. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good. Now, we like to end each episode of the Chocolate Box by offering our guests an opportunity to participate in a little ritual we call the eating of the chocolate. So, bam! My name is Chocolate Drop, encouraging you to be able to tune in each week, same day, same time, for another fascinating episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
When I'm in Charlotte, I'm tuning into the Chocolate Box. We back, revved up, let's go.
Hey, Chocolate Drop here from the Chocolate Box TV. Hey, in addition to loving chocolate, I bet you also didn't know that I love to hike. That's why when I'm hiking, I've got my hiking boots, I've got my Camelback for my water, and I've got my backpack, because when you're hiking, you never know what you're going to get. Kind of like watching the Chocolate Box every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. on Time Warner Cable Channel 21. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Chocolate Box TV and Vimeo's /TXTV/videos. Prostate cancer. We've done, like I said, several programs dealing with prostate cancer. But when it's someone that's dear to you, and you feel like, well, what can we do to get more people aware, and so they will get checked? So this one is for you, Willie Royal. Rest in power. Continue.
The detection of it, like I say, I didn't have any idea that I had prostate cancer. So I can't be the only one out there that was like that. Other people have had to experience that too. So that's why I'm such a stickler for getting checked, make sure. And after you've had the surgery and all, I think you'll do regular checkups for a couple years probably, and then they'll put you on an annual where they do it. By the way, I still do physical every year at this point in time.
You're monitoring your numbers, right?
Yes. And mine was at 0.00. When they remove the prostate, if the cancer's there, it pretty well takes care of that. So what you don't want to do is wait too long and the cancer spreads.
It spreads, yeah.
And that's what happened to our friend.
Yes, yes.
So